Hello and welcome to this week's episode. Before we get there, we're sponsored today. Today we're being sponsored by an amazing Kickstarter package, which, full disclosure, I'm actually now part of, but it wasn't always the case. Nonetheless, we're talking about Future World Creator. You can see that now behind me there. They are already funded in terms of what they were looking for. Now they're looking for those stretch goals to be achieved, and what a wonderful opportunity it is. If you need science fiction base plates, if you need science fiction maps that you can physically place out with some really cool monster tokens and character tokens, and you want lots of it, then this is for you. So let's have a look. We've got all kinds of cool stuff here. We've got little figurines. Not all of the figurines are plastic, though. Most of them, as a matter of fact, are actually cardboard print, which is kind of what you want. Now, Jonathan Gilmore's getting involved with a roguelike. I have become involved in terms of creating adventures, and that's what motivated this video, as a matter of fact. But there is so much stuff in here. We're going to go through it all. In today's video, you're going to see how we use these cool things. There you can see the cutouts of the cardboard figurines and stuff. But there is so much involved in this Kickstarter that if you want sci-fi stuff, but you don't have lots of room for storage, like me, for example, you're limited to what you can and cannot actually have, then this is definitely the modular stuff for you. And this is not the first time that these guys have been here. An Italian company, they have done a fantasy version of this beforehand, so they really know their stuff. And I've got the product here with me, and I can attest it is good quality stuff. This is a Kickstarter you don't want to miss. Check it out. Follow the link down below, and that will let them know that you came from us, which of course helps us for future projects and to earn more funding for the channel itself. Until well, no, there's no until next time, because the video is about to start like now. Okay, I've got all of these cool pieces of stuff. What am I going to do with it? I mean, it's beautiful. Like, there's roof stuff, and oh, look at that. That's such a nice piece of roof there. But I've got all this stuff. It's really nice, but, and I mean, there's so, I mean, look at that. Oh, that looks like that's, I don't know what that is, but it's cool. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Where do I even start? How do I use this stuff to make my adventures better, aside from obviously having cool adventure boards that the guys can run on? How do I make this help me make a better story? Hello and welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy, and today we're looking at an adventure build utilizing assets. Now, if you're like me, you collect this stuff because you go, oh, that's such a cool rooftop. Yes, I want a dozen of those, and corrugated roofing. So when I have my cyberpunk setting, I can put corrugated roofing down, and I've got all this stuff, but how do I use it? How do I make it into something that's going to actually work? And more importantly, how can I use it to make my adventures, to make my games even better, aside from just having cool backgrounds and backdrops and stuff? How can I do it? Well, that's what we're going to look at in today's video. We're going to unpack that. We're going to look at the assets. So what assets do you have? What have you got with you that you can use? And how are we going to use them for our ideas? How are we going to get ideas around that are going to really make these things cool? And then finally, how do we then link it all together so that it actually becomes an adventure? So this is a really exciting journey that we're going to be using now, going on, I should say. Now, we're going to be using Future World Creator, which, if you saw at the beginning of this video, they're the sponsors of today's video, but they have provided me with these really cool tiles, and I was looking at it and I was going, well, how, or what should we do, I should say, in terms of how do we use this to make a really cool adventure. So this is how I'm going to be doing it. I haven't planned this adventure out beforehand. I've got the tiles here. I have looked through the tiles just to sort of familiarize myself with them, but that's as far as I've gone. Now we're also going to use World Anvil later on to organize all of this stuff, and it's just easier to basically do it there than it is to do it on a piece of paper, as a matter of fact. So let's get into it. So we're going to look at the assets. So when it comes to assets, There are, in Future World Creator anyway, there are 4 different terrain types. Let me see if I can find some for you. Let's have a look down here. All right, so this is the stuff. So I'm using this one because it doesn't have green screen on it, so you're more likely to see what's going on. Okay, so they've got 4. They've got post-apocalyptic, which is pretty cool. Just if I can get rid of the lighting shining all over it. So post-apocalyptic, very grungy, broken sort of concrete tiled floors, that sort of thing. Office desk happening there. So we've got post-apocalyptic. We've got sci-fi-esque future. That's a desk with a chair on that side, and then just a standard sort of hotel room almost. It kind of looks like not Deckard Cain, who was the character from the latest Blade Runner movie. Anyway, it kind of looks like his apartment. Then we've got alien terrain, which is really cool, big flowers and stuff, and then that's apocalyptic on the back. So we've got alien terrain, and we've got lots of this stuff. So here's a medical bay of some kind, a hospital. On the reverse, it looks like a roof, or maybe this could even be road sections, and this is a landing lot. We've got this cool cantina, diner type of thing happening, or something else. I mean, that's the beauty of these things, is one can interpret. And then we've got this ziggurat type thing. So here's a nice alien garden type of thing with some glowing crystals and the like. And there's some trashy stuff. So, and then I love this one, the what do they call it? Cutest Space, the Cutest Space bar, which again is quite useful. And then a cargo thing with a giant sort of potato-shaped cargo thing, which could be useful, and then some more stuff. So what I normally do is I go through the locations that I have. I say, okay, so we've got these different locations. What should we be building out of them? So I'm going to build a starship because I love space, I love starships, and that was one of the things that they said that you were going to be able to do. So I'm going to chuck all these away because I've got them on the desk in front of me. Oh, I'm not going to chuck them away, I'm going to put them away. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to put these away. They're very robust, the card, which I quite like. They're quite heavy. They are very heavy, as a matter of fact. So, okay, so we're going to put those away somewhere neatly. There we are. They're put away out of screen. And we're going to go and look for some sci-fi stuff. Now, to give you a sense of how much comes in that Future World box, I've already organized it into plastic crates. And the plastic crates, as you see there, there's a lot of them. So that is alien monsters and alien tiles. This is mixed up because I've already mixed it up, and this is more mixed up stuff. And then in here is humans and tokens. So that's all the stuff. I've categorized it very roughly so that we can play with it. Get out there. And so I've narrowed it down. I've got these down here. I've narrowed it down to this collection of plates. I'm dropping stuff all over the floor. Give me a sec. Okay, so this is what I've narrowed it down to. Is I've got some tokens. I got some things out which I thought were quite cool. Now, again, I still don't have a plan. I just kind of collected stuff. And then I started to lay stuff out and work out what we had. Now, something that's important to bear in mind is oftentimes when you've got assets like this, whether it's Future World stuff or whether it's 3D printed stuff or whether it's plastic stuff, keeping track of it all is a major problem. Point number one. Point number two is then storing it so that it's accessible and then makes sense to you later on. Because the last thing that you want is to have hundreds of boxes with stuff in them, and you go, oh, so much effort. Because that happens to me. That does happen to me. So I like to categorize stuff. So I go, okay, well, I need sci-fi. Right, let's pull out the sci-fi box, and it's got all of the sci-fi bits and pieces in it. So that's what I've done. So we're going to look at the location. We're going to look at expectations that come with it, and we're going to look at the layout. So let's do that. Let's go back here. So I have done a basic layout, which I worked out. And what I like about these is that once you've worked out your layout, do you see that I've got these little numbers written here, M7, M5, M6, M4. I can't remember for the life of me what they mean, but this is what I like about this set, is that I can left wing. Okay, I can actually write on these and then they dry erase. So I wouldn't use your finger, I'd get a cloth, but they dry erase. So you can label these out. So that's what I've done here. So let's get out of the way. All right, so this is M7, this is M5. I had a plan. I swear I had a plan. M7, M5 must be up there somewhere. M6 must be next to M5, and then what did I do? No, I think it was this way around. This way around. Okay, these just click together very nicely. M4 could be up there. M3, no, M3 is definitely up there. Now I'm trying to remember the shape that I had created. I think this, was it this shape? And here's an M2. Okay, so don't you go down there. Yes, that's what I had done. That's what I had done. There should be another one. Right, so it's just about playing around with these things. I am going to abandon that idea, and I know it's not these pieces, because these are number 2. You see, they've got little numbers written all over them. There's O2. Okay, so that's that layer there. So that's fine. O1. That's the power core. Okay, so I looked at this and I went, okay, this looks like it could be a power core. It could be something. So I put that. This is on the 2nd floor. Because I should have, I've just smudged it off. All right, 2nd floor. All right, there we go. 2nd floor, 2nd floor, 2nd floor, 2nd floor. 1st floor, right, good. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So this, to me, there's a map here, and there's some sort of bits of earth and that sort of thing. So this is M8. So this should help us now. Okay, good. Yes, so M8. I think I did this. One of these didn't fit correctly. This is coming back to me now in terms of the layout. M5 was out there, I think. And so it sat like this. No, then that would have sat over there. So then this comes here, this comes here. This goes there. And this one goes here. No, that doesn't seem right. Oh, that seems better. Yes, that seems more like it. And then it was just a case of rotating this around. You don't have to if you don't want to, for example. Oh, yes, this is what... This is right. This is right. Now we're on track. Don't panic, everybody. We're sorted out. All right, so there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So better note-taking on my behalf, I think, is important. All right, so there's the backbone of our spaceship. I've got this wonderful set piece here, which I looked at it and it was like, it's a bar with a cantina type feel. So I'm going to slot that in. I think this rotated around to like that. There we go. So that's going to sit over here. Now, if you're looking at this and you're going, oh, well, that doesn't link... That doesn't lock together very well. And there's a reason why it doesn't... Still recording? Yep. Okay, there's a reason why it doesn't lock together very well. They purposely did that so that if you wanted to remove this tile and replace it with something else during the game, I can lift it out without upsetting the entire board. It's that easy. So that's a design... It's an actual design plan that they had. I'm going to move these figures over there because I need more space. You know, you sort of set up this thing. Now, this was an arboretum with a floor panel that's been opened up. So I quite like that. I'm going to drop this in here somewhere. I've got a tripod over there. So we've got that over there. We've got that over there. All right. And then this was the bridge. Command chair and then pilot's chairs. And that's going to actually go over down here. Okay, you are irritating me. I don't have enough space on my board, but generally speaking, that's the layout. So this is what I came up with, working on what I had. Now, there are a whole bunch of other tiles. So we have up here, let me point up there. Oh, let's do it this way. Up here is the bridge. We've got the central corridor, which runs down into this sort of stellar cartography room. And then over here, we've got an arboretum. And then over here, we've got sort of like the bar and the cantina where the crew can hang out. So when we look at it, we go, okay, great. So that's one of the layouts. I mean, we can configure this in a dozen different ways. There are dozens of other tiles that we can use, but this was the one that I went with. So I said, okay, so this is basically still in the asset phase. This is, if I go back here, this is our location. So now we've got our location worked out. Now we sit back and we say, okay, what are our expectations? What do we expect from this location? So this is, again, you just look at this and you say, well, this is a starship. We've got so much stuff that we can expect from a starship. Starship combat, monsters boarding the starship. Where are my pens? I was going to add in a detail here. I was going to use blue. So now that I've built this, I can now just erase these numbers so my players don't get suspicious of what's actually going on. And I'm just lightly brushing them off. Because they're all made, there's a plastic coating on these things, right? Okay, so I'm going to do that. And over here, more space. I need a giant office. Maybe I'll do a Kickstarter for giant office in Tokyo. Like, that's going to happen. All right, so I'm going to say here that there is an airlock here. Okay, you can't see that. Okay, you're just going to go there for now. So I have actually drawn on this thing airlock. All right, so everyone knows that's how you get out of the ship. Okay. All right. Full flat. Thank you. Okay, so there's my airlock. This thing is going to continue to bother me. So it's nice that I can move these plates out, but at the same time, it's causing me grief. So we've got airlock over there. Bridge over there. So we've got our locations. All right, so we've got our locations. What does that mean, though? What are we going to do with that? So our expectations are many, and we have lots of expectations. So this can help guide you in terms of figuring out what the story should be. So if this is the ship, if this is the idea, and we go, okay, great, let's figure this out. We need, this is one layer, and we know that we've got a deck below, and we've got a deck above. So just because we've got the floor tiles, we might as well use them. And multi-decks allow your party to be split up, so it creates a lot more tension. That's good. So we'll insert some stairs. And let's see. So if that's the stellar cartography room, we would put a door here. Door. Okay. So I would say that's the airlock there. We would probably have stairs, I would say, here. And these stairs go up. Okay, so those stairs go up or down, as a matter of fact. Okay, down or up. I know it's upside down for you guys, but that's where the stairs would be. So characters, if we had a hero character. Do I have a hero character lying around? What have I got here? I've got a bit of a mess of things. No, let me just grab a human quickly. I thought I had a hero put out. Anyway, not a problem. Oh, there they are. All right, never mind, too far away. So here's our hero character. Our hero character can then walk up these stairs, up and down them as they so desire. So that's not a problem. And of course, they can move around the board. Okay, so we have our locations, we have our assets, we have our expectation that anything could happen on this ship. I think I want this to be a bit more dramatic. So the multi-layered levels, our layout there. Our layout then speaks to the drama. It speaks to the capacity that we could have a layer above and we could have a layer below. And I don't have enough space on my desk to show you how one would do that. But you would layer out on top or underneath, depending, and then you'd have them available so that when the character goes down, you can place them down below. All right, so that's pretty close to what we are wanting to do in terms of our assets. We've got our assets. There's one last thing that we need to look at, and that is in terms of this set anyway, it comes with figures. So there's like robot figures, which are pretty cool. There's lots of different types of robots. There's like deciduous plants and things, which are pretty awesome. There's giant bug-like things. So we've got a whole bunch of assets. I think I'm going to choose, because this is sci-fi, I'm going to choose robots. I'm going to choose robots are going to be invading the ship. That's the general idea. All right, so let's have a look and see. What does that imply then? So we've got our assets. We've now worked out. We've got this model. We've got that model. These are all the kind of cool things. We're now going to go into the ideas behind this whole thing. So there are 4 adventure types, in my opinion. Let me get out of the way. We've got collection adventures, we've got delivery adventures, we've got thwarting adventures, and we've got discovery adventures. So of the 4, which one should we choose? And I think this should be a delivery, because it's a starship. Starships, we expect to transport cargo from point A to point B. We expect those kinds of things. So I think delivery is the one that's going to make the most sense here. Collecting could be, but we want the robots to attack the players. We've built this starship. We've spent all this time, 20 minutes now, building the starship with multiple layers so we can have multiple tension points and all that kind of stuff. So collecting, it could work. All four of these could work. But I think delivery is the classic, take this box and deliver this box somewhere else. And whatever's in the box, of course, that's where we can then start to build on tropes. So we've got robots. They're attacking the ship. The robots are our NPCs. Our PCs will create as they need to, whatever system they're going to be playing in. That's absolutely fine. So the NPCs are going to be robots. So now it's a case of going through the assets and looking at all of the hundreds and hundreds of different robot models. I've got a few here that I've dug up already. And there's some cute little ones. Now, these don't come. There's no lore here, just by the way, in Future World Creator. There's no existing. These are this race. These are that race. They just, here's some tokens, because if you want to play Starfinder, here's some tokens for you. If you want to play Star Wars, these would fit to a large degree in the Star Wars space as well. If you've got Stormtroopers, you can go and drop those in if you need them. But these will act as fillers as quite easily. Starship Troopers could come to mind as well. I mean, so you can work it how you like. All right, so I've gone through and I've found some NPCs that we're going to be using here. We've got some cool things. We've got these little hovering droid like things. There's 3 of them per set. So I've got 2 of those out because I reckon that could be quite fun. I've got this guy here who kind of looks like a Cylon actually, but doesn't matter. This is going to be our main antagonist. Then we've got these little cute little crawly robots, which I think are a lot of fun. So I've got 4 of those. These all came from the same set, one core set, by the way. And then I've got this big guy, this big hulking guy, which I think could be quite fun. And then I've got this heavily armed one that's got a Gatling gun type thing on their back. Now, I haven't decided what role-playing system I'm going to be using, so I'm just kind of building as we go along. Right, so those are our NPCs, and because of this idea of a delivery, they're delivering something. What are they delivering? And I think that's going to be this guy. This is a plant. Feed me, Seymour. It's like a Venus flytrap on steroids because it's about the same size. Let's get you out of the way. We don't need you for now. It's about the same size as a human at the current moment in time. And when I look at the assets that I have, and this is, where is it? I didn't think about this when I was looking at the model, but I just realized that what you can do, bear with me here, I'm just busy getting something. What you can do is they have different sizes of these particular plants, which is quite fun. So they can grow. I thought there was an intermediary. Oh yeah, there is. Okay. So this plant thing, which I quite like, it can grow from that into that into that. So that's quite cool, from 1 to 2 to 3. So that's an asset that we're going to use later on. So not for this adventure. We're just going to use this one, the little one, for now. So, all right. Okay, so let's keep going. Right, so we've got our NPCs. We've got all that kind of stuff. I'm going to move this out of the way. It's getting in my way. So, goals. What are the goals? Now, traditionally, this is we've worked out this is a delivery mission. Okay, so they're going to deliver this. Oh, let's go back. They're going to deliver this little creature, which will sit in the arboretum, which it won't sit now because the arboretum is not flat, because I don't have enough space. It's going to be in the arboretum. They're going to deliver this creature to Earth. Right? Good. That's simple enough. The robots are going to attack and try and stop it from happening. They are going to be after that little plant. Okay? So the PCs will be sitting in the bridge. They will discover that they're being hailed by this robotic race thing, the Cylons, or whatever we want to call them. And they demand that the plant be handed over because it is of the greatest destructive power known to mankind. The PCs might hand it over under normal circumstances, but if their boss has tasked them, if the initial adventure is the cargo being loaded in and the client saying, we must get these samples to Earth. If we don't, the entire humanity is at risk. This species is very dangerous. What you're doing is very important. When the robots then say, well, you must hand it over to us, this is classic delivery problems. So in a delivery type adventure, what am I talking about? Remember when we go back here? So in a delivery type adventure, when we're talking about this kind of thing, we're saying, take X to Y, and that journey is what becomes the problem. What are the issues that sort of sneak in there? So in this case, the issue is going to be the metal robots, these androids, want this plant for whatever reason. And they're not going to tell the PCs, they're just going to demand that they want it. The PCs are going to be told that if they lose this sample, all of humanity will be lost. So hopefully, that will encourage them to then fight off of these robots. Now, what we also don't want to do is we don't want it to just be fight off a horde of robots. That's an encounter. That's not an adventure. An adventure needs to have ebbs and flows, and we need to have successes, we need to have failures in order for it to feel like a full story. So let's go back here. So what are the goals? The goals are going to be fairly straightforward from the PC perspective, which is to defeat the robot invasion. But to just do it that way is going to be very mundane. It will just be a bunch of attacks and battles, and well, you can roll dice, and that's dull. So now we've got our NPCs, we've got our goals, we've got our adventure type. That means we can now go into conforming it into an actual adventure. We can start to lay it out in terms of timing, in terms of system, and in terms of the stats. What stats are these robots going to have? What stats is the plant going to have? What's all that kind of stuff? So from a timing perspective, we want this to be a standalone adventure that could fit in almost anywhere, or it could fit into our campaign. It's just something that gets there, or this is the start of a campaign. Either way, this should be a good moment for the players to start learning about their abilities and to start learning who the major players are. It will be the human organization that's trying to prevent this plant species from taking over the universe. It will be this robot organization which is going to be trying to prevent whatever it is that they're trying to prevent. We're going to keep that a mystery for now. We'll work it out later. And then we've got the PC faction itself, the rogue traders that are running around doing whatever it is they're doing. I don't know how many other sci-fi genres I can clump into this specific video, although this is a very long one, but it, I hope, is going to be very useful and instructional for you in terms of how to prep a game based on assets and stuff that you've got. So when we look at the timing, we go, right, this should be maybe a 3-hour adventure, maybe less, maybe it should run in an hour. Who knows? Let's figure this out. So at 20 minutes a block, that's kind of how my brain works. I go, okay, 20 minutes for this, 20 minutes for this, and 20 minutes for that. And if it goes longer than that, so be it. If it goes less than that, that's great as well. That's not a problem. So I'm going to work in blocks of 20. And I'm going to say that we're going to have the initial briefing from the general. That's going to take 20 minutes. We're going to have the androids attacking the spaceship. That's going to take 40 minutes. And then we've got, that's already an hour. If we're going to go for 2 hours, maybe we're going to have a secondary thing with the androids, and then we're going to have a wrap up. In terms of system, when the system is chosen, this is something that you've had conversations with your players beforehand, before you've even decided. So the idea is to then say, okay, great, let's have a system whereby, let's look at D20 Modern. For example, Out of Print came out a long time ago, wonderful 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons conversion to modern, and it was a proper conversion. It wasn't, oh, we're looking at 3.5, it was, we're using the D20 system, but in a setting. The D20 Modern came with the D20 Future expansion, which allowed you to play Future. It's my go-to sci-fi, by the way. But we could use any system we like. There are a whole bunch out there that allow for cyberpunk-esque type of escapades, that allows for science fiction. So once you've decided on your system, you can then work out the stats. This for me is a low-level encounter. This is the initial set-off of the campaign. So these are going to have quite low-level stats. Again, we've got to look at expectation, and we've got to play around with those expectations. Let me get back into shot here. So when we look at it, we go, okay, this little bug thing, it shouldn't have big stats. It really shouldn't. It's not a giant killer robot. Okay, and we've got 4 of them. This guy looks like he is the ultimate endgame slaughterer and killer and maimer. So he is going to have bigger stats. Maybe this is going to be our big boss who they fight at the end of the adventure. This guy doesn't look like he's heavily armed. As a matter of fact, he looks more like a power lifter type of thing. So maybe he's not going to be too heavily armed. And then these little whirligig things, these drones, which I think are really, really, really cool. I don't think they should have a lot of value in terms of attack value, but I think in terms of not attack value, in terms of health value. But if they were firing out little lasers and they were just sort of picking away at the crew, they act almost like a swarm in terms of the way that one's thinking about this. I think that could be really, really, really cool. So we're going to go and we're going to look at all of that. So let's go and have a look. What have we got to do now? We've got timing, we've got stats, we've got conforming. And for that, we're going to jump over to World Anvil because, and let's just show you that. World Anvil, of course, this is behind me. Big world aggregator, website, world creator, hero creator. It's just, it's everything you could possibly want. I'm in my basic world exploration. I'm going to go down here to plot. Where did it go now? It was called plot. Species, is it further down here? Where did it go? There, plot. Can't read to save my life. All right, so we're going to go down to plot, and you can see that this is not a rehearsed video at all. This is just me doing my thing. That's why it's one of the longest videos we've ever produced. Maybe we'll break it up into two. I don't think so. Anyway, so here we can type in attack on the PC starship. Okay, good. And this is the PCs are charged with delivering a strange biological plant to Earth. They are intercepted by an AI-controlled droid army who demand the plant or will invade and attack ship. Okay, so that's it. That's as far as it goes. Now, when we get to this tab here, I'm going to activate this. This is called Adventure, and it's going to bring up, as you can see, there are a whole lot of options. So the objective, the theme, the type, the focus, what do we expect? Remember, under type, we've got the 4 types here: thwarting, delivering, collecting, and discovering. We know that this is a delivery exercise, so we're going to be working on that. And of course, we've got names, we've got all kinds of things in here, and then we've got our timing. So we've got Act 1, which is the intro goal. So this would be the briefing, the plant to Earth and importance of saving humanity. Okay. Intro to the enemy is then obviously the AI arrive and they demand the plant back. I'm not going to continue typing through all of this. You don't need to watch me typing. Intro to the situation is that they're en route to Earth and they are several hours out and the AI are attacking them. We then go into the actual timing. These are blocks of 20. Generally speaking, 20 minutes, 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how fast your group is and how many players you have. So we've got all of that kind of cool stuff. We enter it in, and then we basically are done. That's it. We are done for creating this adventure. We've used the assets that we've had. It's inspired us to create this thing, but is there more that we can do? Well, yes, there is. For hanging around for this long, good grief. For hanging around for this long, you get bonus. You get the bonus stuff. You get the stuff that no one else gets to see because they didn't hang around for this long. So, the bonus stuff. When you are designing something like this, and when you've got so many assets, I'm busy looking at the floor with all of the assets around, don't be afraid to randomly draw things. Don't be afraid to randomly draw things. So I'm going to bend down and grab something that I threw onto the floor, and we're going to see what that means. I'm randomly drawing, I'm not looking. Okay, this is what I drew. It's a bit of roof tile on that side, and on this side, okay, on this side, it's a desk in an office type of thing, I think. This is a second floor piece, so that's why it doesn't have the floor tiles built into it. So how am I going to include this into my adventure? Well, I'm actually going to say that this is the starting plate. This is the starting plate for our heroes. They're not going to start in the spaceship. That's where I thought they were going to start. They're actually going to start here in this small office where they are busy fighting against, and I'll go and randomly draw something. They are fighting against it. And as it is about to overwhelm them, they get beamed up into their spaceship, or they get rescued with a space pod, or whatever the mechanic is for whatever setting you're using, that's how they get out of it. So this becomes the first time that the PCs engage in combat, because combat's usually quite fun for players anyway. So the players are engaged in combat. I'll make sure that it's not a robot thing. I'll make sure that it's not a plant thing. I will just choose one of the hundreds of other options that I have with this particular set that I'm looking at. And they will fight that first and then get beamed up onto their ship. So the players are already going to be on the edge. They're going to have had this combat. They're going to see what worked and what didn't work. So the next time they're going into combat, there's a certain, well, remember what happened last time? We all died. That was bad. That was really bad. So that's something that's how random draw can inspire you. And I usually do it either at the very beginning, where I just pull out a bunch of stuff and I go, okay, how do I link this together? Or I do it right at the end to then improve my design, to then improve the quality of the design, to then say, okay, cool, well, now we've got this random element which doesn't seem to connect very well. And it doesn't, because it was random. And then the alternative is sometimes you can flip the perspective. So this is what I do. I look at this and I go, okay, so what if we flipped this perspective around? And I don't mean literally flip the boards over. I mean, what if this spaceship belongs to the robots and our PCs have to break into the spaceship to get the plant? So the PCs are breaking in. So now it's no longer a delivery mission. Now it's a collecting mission. Which one's more interesting? Fighting off aliens that are attacking their ship, or breaking into a ship to get stuff? Well, the answer to that, as far as I'm concerned, when we're mulling this over in our heads, is, are the players' characters designed for infiltration and sneaking, or are they designed more for combat? If they're designed more for combat, I would say our original plan holds. If they're designed more for sneaking and stealth kind of operations, then perhaps this one is a better option, where they're sneaking onto the spaceship to steal the plant sample, which is a precursor almost to then having to deliver it to Earth. So that could also work very, very well. Either way, we've used a whole bunch of options to get us there, from the flipping the perspective to the random draw. And so when we start again, we go back, we look at our assets, we look at our ideas that come from that, we look at conforming it, and then we look at that bonus of flipping our perspective or randomly drawing something. And that is going to give us a very quick and easy way, I think, of solving the problem of how to work an adventure out with assets that you might get from objects or from kits and things that arrive. So we were using assets today. I'm going to bring this up here because I said I would, but also it's useful for you guys to see. Let me point it that way. There we go. So Future World Creator. They are on Kickstarter right now. You can find links down below. Big box. This is the box that it came in, by the way. All of these pieces, 600 assets. I mean, it's massive. So I was using that. Whatever kit you use, when you get these things in from Kickstarters, from wherever you might be, this is what I do, is I look at what assets they have and I let that inspire me. I don't let it control me, but I let it inspire me. And hopefully this video will inspire you to use your assets in a different way, or maybe just to randomly draw from time to time to see what craziness it inspires. That's enough from me, definitely, for this week. Until next week, until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of playing.